Well, I guess it's not the end of the show after all. So it was going to be. I've let the music roll. We've got a nice solid hour, but I can edit that out. Drop a link in Discord. Yeah, why don't I do that? Yes, Algo, why don't I generate a link now? Hang on. Shoobity boop boop ba ba bam. I'm going to do it. Wow, live improv. And Daryl's here. How fitting. Because she does live improv. And I didn't notice she was in the chat. Algo, let me find you. My buddy Algorithm. We've been meaning to chat for a while, actually. And was on about to record it or just chat in private first. But no, let's just do it. Damn it. Why not? I can talk about aliens all day anyway. So let's, let's have a... Oh, man, I got on my high horse a bit at the end there as well. What link, Daryl? You can... I don't know why I'm saying it and typing it. You can generate a link with StreamYard and send it as a call-in number. That's a pretty cool thing. You can create, with StreamYard, you can generate a link. Oh, there is, my buddy. Oh, man, it's fast. Brother. Wow.
The mighty Rohan.
The mighty. You do check out Flash, the mighty Flash.
Exiled Minds podcast. How are you?
All right, I'm really good, man. I've got a double show. Do you know, it's a triple show because I started this show and I forgot to press live. And I did a great show and then realized at the end, I was like, I'll do it again. And then you're here. So, yay. Nice one.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you coming. I didn't know, I do these shows last minute sometimes. I don't tell people. And I think, that way, I don't have to check the live chat. But then people turn up and I'm like, damn it.
It's a lot of pressure.
Do you know what? The actual doing, it's more in my head. The actual doing of it, I find that easy. But it's all the building up of telling myself to get on and do it. Is the hard bit. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I make obstacles.
It makes sense to me. I do when I live stream. If I think about it too much, then I sometimes don't do it. And if I just go for it and just roll and see what's in everybody's ether, then I do go for it. So you're talking about aliens and UFOs. Interesting.
Aliens and UFOs. Yeah, it hit me the other day that I've done 30 odd episodes and I hadn't mentioned it at all. Because this, you've probably noticed there's so many things to talk about, brother, and it gets detailed. And I've found out, even as yourself, an hour of a little break in between, it's not enough, man. You need weeks, don't you?
Yes, you do. I always try to stream for 2 hours and it ends up at 4.
Well, there you go. There you go. See, before when I first started, I was a bit like, you're really nervous, aren't you? So I was doing funny times, an hour and 30, an hour and 40, you know what I mean? So I thought I'd keep it to an hour to make it tight radio clock stuff. But now I'm kind of getting used to it. I'm thinking, I might start doing 2. And that's why I did a part 1 and 2, because yesterday it was just ridiculous. An hour, nothing. I've got to do another one straight after, really, because if I do one in 6 months' time, you can't really follow it as a noob. That's what I'm trying to do this show, is anyone can jump in and feel all right,
Yeah, and I think what I've discovered from watching media evolve, Joe Rogan does a long form podcast, and Joe Rogan is the man of the hour right now.
It's been for a while as well.
Yeah, he has been for a while, and he always does a long form. And I think you can extend to ideas that you didn't anticipate covering. And you'll find yourself, and at least I find myself, going places. It's like, oh, wow, that's super interesting for people that are listening.
Well, actually, yeah. In fact, you've hit something there. That's actually a great point. Because I think that's where I thrive, to be honest, because I'm not great at structure. I'm a bit of, it's a joke. I'm that Earth 17, Harrison Wells, and the ideas guy. I got nothing, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Flexibility works, though. I like it.
Well, I think your personality and your thought stream, from all the times I've heard you, are exactly what you just described.
Yeah, that's what it is. I joke, but it's almost like not a joke. I'm more like, I'm not solid. I'm a vapor cloud. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, if you've got someone who knows how to do structure and we stand together, then, oh my God, we'll do good stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
But yeah, horses for courses, as we say. Everyone's got the sort of strengths and weaknesses. But it's a great point that you bring up there. That long form does open up that opportunity to do these crazy Ivans, and that's like the edge of the box thinking, dissenting voice stuff, isn't it? And if we're already the dissenting voice, man, we could find something great.
Yeah, and I think that's where the good stuff is. I was talking with a friend of mine, and you made me think of it when you said you are the vapor. You're actually the energy. You're accurate expression of all of our energy. I think human beings are energetic beings, and I think we appear solid and we appear in a mindset, or we appear as a doctor or a firefighter or whatever. But you are less encumbered by that from getting to know you a little bit the way I have. And you're a better expression of what human energy is from my perspective than people who come in these realms and talk about things. You just show up and you express what you got, and it's always good and it's always accurate without effort, and I admire that about you, and I think it's fun.
Trying to think from third person. Yeah, that kind of makes sense actually. It's a good review. But that's weird. But I think that's an interesting observation. Weird to hear feedback, like that. But yeah, I think, like I say, I think all these things are necessary, aren't they? Like, it's almost like, I know we've all got our different strengths and weaknesses and all that, but it's almost like there's a matching thing that goes on, and everything's a dipole, and there's a kind of jigsaw piecey thing. I think it's like that on purpose, isn't it? I think, does that make sense?
Oh, it makes absolute sense. And I think life on this realm, in this realm we call Earth, is a mosaic of energy, and we can't see it because we're the little pieces. If you know what a mosaic tile is, or glass,
Yeah,
a whole bunch of tiny pieces make up the picture. And if you're one of
sure.
those pieces, you can't see the picture.
That's it. That's it. I'm starting to realize as well, because if you don't sort of, it's thanks to you fans and listeners and the American people that I've had an opportunity to do this reflection, and it's really helpful for me because I've been getting not accurate stuff the whole way through circumstance. No one's hatching a plan from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? But it's ended up that way, and I really needed it, and it's nice to get that. And I think that's the point of it, and probably why that energy thing comes across from the heart stuff, because I'm kind of like coming realizing that I'm fractured and then starting to fix it and then falling into radio. And it's like, that's how everybody is. And that's okay. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be fractured. And that's the fun of being able to put the pieces together and then be a bit more whole, aren't you? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yay, kind of,
No, I think completely. And all of us are fractured, and all of us were not treated by society or our families or whatever the way I think our divine creator, whatever that may be, wanted us to be. But when a fractured part of me bumps into a fractured part of you, and we recognize there's something there, then
Yeah.
our connection, our communication, our ideas come together, and it produces something less fractured.
Yeah, and something more. I think that's the key, because those bits, it's almost like they're worth it because they can make more than the sum of the parts. And I've got
Yes.
a perfect
Yeah.
visualization for you as well. And it's also an incredible discovery that you'll be mind blown by. So get this. That's what electrons do, right? They expand, okay, in a certain circumstance. And that circumstance is, my friend, light. I've always wondered, is light just an electron seen from a different spot, right? Turns out that's exactly what it is, because you know where the dark matter is? It's inside the photon. Turns out, right? And that's when it's figured it out and can demonstrate it. It's inside, the dark matter's inside the photon, and you can squeeze light, and it turns out the bit on the outside, the bit you want, the burny bit, yeah, got no mass. So it throws off the outer shell, which makes all those photons expand into loads bigger electrons, meaning you get a massive electron shower, which is fission, but on a subatomic level. And then the dark matter tries to desperately catch up with it to recombine, which is fusion. But it's on a subatomic level, and somebody did that, right, with a construction laser.
Oh, wow.
2 nails. Shine a laser through 2 nails, it squishes it. And he got a selfie camera on a Samsung and just took a load of pictures. You can see the goddamn Higgs fields. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have
Wow.
that? Do you have that? Like, you could show us that, or is that something we need
Yeah,
to
I'll
look
get
up?
a picture. Yeah, I'll get a picture if I can find, because I'm going to try and get Roger Spur on to talk about it. I've been nerding out about it for the last couple of days because I'm like, you could stick a solar panel in there, Roger, and he's like, yeah, a diode, a one-way diode. He said he tried it with an LED, and he said you can drive an LED backwards, but only if you use a blue laser. So you could even use an LED to flex it, maybe. It's crazy. Imagine how easier. Everybody, I bet you 70% of the Western world has got nails and a laser in their house right now.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Wouldn't that be funny? Because it's the what he wrote to Geneva 2 years. He was saying you need to use a CMOS detector, right? Because that's counting photons from outside. You just grab it like a photograph plate. He says you're sticking your sensor in the experiment. There's no observer effect. You're just interfering with it. And they're using protons, which are a million times bigger than a photon, trying to make smaller things. Why not just smart with the smallest thing? Right? You know,
Right.
it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So, yeah, let me see if we get this picture up there, because you can kind of see it. I really want Roger to explain it, really, but now I've mentioned it. But he keeps saying it over and over again on YouTube. He wrote to Geneva, and 2 years later, they started using CMOS detectors. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, come on, guys. Let's have a look then. Electron flood. Let's have a look. Roger Spur. Yeah, I'll try and share my screen in a sec. See if we can get the images up here. If we can get the bands. I might have to just go on YouTube. Can you just ramble on for just a sec?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. So when then all of the conversation that you're having about electrons and photons, dark matter chasing light matter, I think media and I think governments and I think all of those things want us to think it's the other way around. They want us to believe that the dark matter's in charge through policies and the whole thing that the world went through 3 years ago, or 3 years, a couple of years ago. They want us to believe it's the opposite of what reality actually is. I believe that each one of us is that light matter, that lightest matter, and our creative abilities have been hindered and pushed down. You look through media of any type, whether it be Twitter or network TV or movies, it's all inverted to make us not know the reality. And this guy you're talking about, I missed his name. He's showing us
Roger Spur. Yeah,
what's his name?
Roger Spur. It was a guy called Robert Warren that got the pictures. This kind of worked together remotely, just like us, actually.
Okay. So go ahead and show that. I've got to pause my mic for a moment.
Yeah, go on.
I'll be right back.
No worries. Yeah, so basically, yeah, so that's a great point that algorithm was just making there. That the dark and the light and the working together and the living in the upside down, the flipping it on us, and yeah, I do sort of appreciate that, and yeah, I agree. But anyway, yes, let's have a look. I'll get this picture up ready for Algo. Then let's have a look. I'll just mute this for now. So I'm going to get Roger on to describe this, because say he's got the images to hand, and it's not, but actually, I mean, I want him to get the credit for his work. He don't care. I mean, it'd be nice to. He don't care. He just wants people to know about it. And because the academic community is just completely ignoring the guy, then, you know, you just got to get it out somewhere, aren't you? Because he knows this is it. I think this is it. Because if we can do this ourselves and achieve what CERN are doing, I mean, including the price of a phone, that's $500. I mean, you might have a laser on your spirit level, you know. So they're cheap to buy. Yeah, this is the image I want to see. Here we go. So yeah, so this is what we're going to do then. We're going to do a proper presentation on this, physics presentation. I've mentioned that we might have to do some Roger Spur, once we get him introduced. He's talking about he wants to do some training courses to kind of redo science, because we've got to revise things. If the academic community is not doing it, then, you know, it's like we're going to have to sort of relearn it ourselves, learn it properly, because this is another issue as well, folks. Unfortunately, because science changes and academic science credibility is everything, there's grant money involved with this stuff, you know, And it gets a bit sketchy because then you're charging students a lot of money to learn things. And if it turns out, if it turns out you got it wrong, or you've been kind of hiding stuff, then, people could legitimately ask for refunds. And then it gets really sketchy. So I don't know. But what we're going to do with this, basically, this is Roger Spur. He's known famous. He's got a YouTube channel called Mud Fossil University. It's called Mud Fossil because he does work with mud fossils, and he wrote a paper on a global flood being just a few thousand years ago, and things being soft-bodied tissue being fossilized quickly, and there's biology across the surface of the earth. And people are saying, no, it's ridiculous. Did not deal with him. They won't deal with him. Okay, but he's wrote this paper, and again, Yale University has confirmed it. Yeah, there was a global flood, and they found soft body tissue. There's a 60 minutes episode where they'd add some fossil and put it into acid to dissolve it, and it was too concentrated. It dissolved the fossil too far, but then they discovered, to the surprise, on the inside there was still some soft tissue preserved, still soft. So that changed everything. We assumed everything turns to rock, but no. It can just be the outer layer, and it can encase things on the inside, still soft. So if you've got an organ that gets a lot of blood and it gets fossilized really quickly, then you could potentially still have blood inside of it, so then you get blood from a stone. And that's but it gets really wild with the fossil work. But Roger Spur has gone out of his way to go to the university online courses, the free courses, and he's gone and learned about chemistry. He's learned about material science. He's learned about chemistry. He's learned about biology. So he knows how it works, knows how the chemical processes work, what reacts with what the biology then looks like, because you don't see inside your body. You don't see inside other creatures, do you? So you don't know what the biology is supposed to look like. Okay. So he's gone and learned the stuff, so you know what to see. You know what to recognize. You know how to see it. Yeah, otherwise you're not going to know what you're looking at, sort of thing. So he's learnt the chemistry, he's learnt the biology, he's learnt geology, and he's basically come and said, look, the geology is basically biology. And because he's learnt the chemistry, then he can demonstrate, look, here are the transition metals. It's called nucleophilic invasion. When you have heated seawater, then it's going to create chemical processes which are going to make biology fossilize very quickly. And it gets deep into a guy called Immanuel Verkovsky who got banned. He had a #1 bestseller book for weeks and weeks, and they made him take it off the shelf. Academic community said, we're not going to buy books from you anymore if you don't remove Immanuel Verkovsky's Worlds in Collision. So, I mean, that's crazy stuff in itself, but it basically says that Venus almost hit the Earth, it scraped Mars, almost hit the Earth, superheated the atmosphere, so you probably did get boiling oceans, global flood, just like sort of the biblical accounts suggest and other accounts. And, and it's not the Ice Age flood sort of thing. It's a more recent one. So it's kind of crazy. But as it happens, because he's been doing his material science, I don't know how he's come across this, but it turns out that because Roger's done his material science, interested in physics, he's then come up with this electron flood theory, and they've been able to demonstrate it. And it's essentially the thing that CERN is trying to achieve at with the Hadron Collider. But with CERN, they're using protons. It gets complicated. We want to get Roger to talk about it properly, but seeing as Algorithm just jumped in here and we're doing this extra little bonus show on the Exile Minds podcast, I thought we might as well present this now and kind of a look at this electron flood theory as a basic overview, and then we'll get Roger in hopefully next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we can sort of get into it, can introduce Roger Spur to the listeners, and then sort of try and incorporate it into the Troubled Minds group, because they need some support, I think, with this stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of he's gathering support. He's got way more subscribers than me. He's got 180k. But yeah, he's gathering support. You need academic, help normally. I don't know who we can get to, but some of these big names just aren't doing with it, and the universities are kind of being made look silly by it. I don't know what the deal is, what the issue is with those people.
Well, that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
If you have some truth to share, be prepared because they're going to hammer you.
Yeah, there's even it sounds funny, but there's even academic articles about academic bullying. It's a problem. Yeah. You know, it's like, come on. But did you catch it? What was? Did you have to go out for a moment there?
You know, I had to take a phone call from work.
Oh, darn the old W word.
The dang job. I know. I caught some of it.
Oh no, it's cool. I was just kind of rambling on. I was just giving a quick overview of who Roger Spur was. That was all. But I'm going to hopefully get him on next week because he's done some good stuff. You know, he's basically gone to done the free courses at the universities, learnt his chemistry, learnt his biology, found out some crazy stuff about. So he wrote this flood theory, and Yale University confirmed it again 2 years after he wrote the paper.
Of course.
And a 60 minutes episode saying what an amazing discovery it was 2 years after. But anyway, yeah, so electron flood theory. So check this. Right, okay. So can you see this image that I've got here?
Yeah, you're on the screen. Everything looks good.
Okay, so that image, and his hands are in the way there with a feather. He's pointing at the screen, does it old school. But those bands there, that's the shower. Right. So what's basically all he's done is like with plumbing, if you want to increase the flow, you have a little squeeze point, don't you? A little bottleneck, and it creates pressure and it makes it quite a bit faster. That's all it is. Okay, so all they've done is take this construction laser. You can see it just under his hands. And just move this video on a bit. Just under his hands there on this image, just for describe for the video listeners. Yeah, it's just laser, a laser off your anything. It's just a laser on a block with two finishing nails close to each other, just so it squeezes the laser.
Okay.
Right? And that's it. And then it turns out if you take pictures, you can see the Higgs fields, which I'll try and get on this other image. That's why I want to get him on, because he's got the clear images. But you can see the Higgs fields. If you can just about make it out, there's a picture with 6 of them, and the one at the top in the center, that's the Higgs fields. Those brighter parts, so from the left, that's where the laser beam's coming in. And then there's a really bright part to the right side. That's where the electron shower is happening. And those brighter bits that are sort of flying off of it, there's you can't really see it too well, but there's brighter bits that are kind of flying off of it. They're Higgs fields. When you get a bit closer, that bottom picture on the bottom left, so it's not a great picture off his screen, off a video, but it's got separate bands, right?
Right, you can see the bands, yeah.
Right, well, those bands, what that is that's a big band of electrons with dark matter behind it. A big band of electrons and then dark matter behind it, where the electrons have been thrown off. And now, bearing this in mind, now consider when you've seen those videos of a thermonuclear explosion, the building smolders and don't do anything. And then suddenly it gets blown away, where the dark matter's catching up. It's being cooked in an electron shower, and then the dark matter catches up, blows it away, because that's got the mass. You see?
Wow, that's interesting. Before you leave that picture, can you go back to the one where he had the feather in his hands?
Yeah, there's one with the bands. You can see it a bit better. Just get rid of this. There's an app. Just come on. Just click this out the way. Yeah, it's this one here.
Okay, that's anywhere you stop it is great.
Yeah,
so
that band.
Where are the nails in relationship to that picture?
Okay, so in relationship to this particular picture, that's that bright bit on the left. There, they'll be right there, because that's either going to be just to the left of the screen, just outside, or it's going to be right where those lines kind of flay out. It's right in the center.
Okay, I thought it was. So the laser comes out at its own pace, and then the nails separate it, and it causes that curved white piece we're looking at.
Yeah, because it's radiating in all directions. We're just catching where the laser's going, isn't it? But
and then it changes the distance between the waves, separating the electrons from the dark matter.
Yeah, it's just momentarily accelerating only the outer shell, because the dark matter don't change. It just stays exactly the same, except it's in love with its outer shell, so it desperately wants to get back to it. So these electrons are kind of like blowing up. Now, Roger's got a picture. I've not got it to hand, but he's got a picture where that's what CERN have said. They're showing you the particles, the quark, this. They're showing you, we think there's these 2 particles are the main thing. right? And it shows you him exactly how he's got images of him, and it basically comes up is it's just there's only two particles. It's just the dark and the light. That's it. Just like yin yang, yin yang.
Right.
It's just they're there. That's it. That's the only thing there is.
So
Everything else. No.
for 35 pounds, the laser, the block of wood, and 2 nails.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you've already got a phone, you're good.
He showed what billions of dollars in CERN hasn't shown us.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Isn't it crazy? It is crazy because cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Oh, we haven't solved it yet. Oh well, here's 500 billion. You know,
here's more tax dollars out of your pocket.
Right. And what if you get too close to it, Algo, and you don't notice this shit, and then someone does it for $500 and tells you, are you gonna go to the Ministry of Defence and go, oh, I'm sorry to tell you, but we're fucked up? What are you gonna say?
They're not going to.
And then there's your career to think of, right? Because they've set themselves up, haven't they? You know,
and your physical safety. Do you know the Nikola Tesla story very well?
I know. Well, the main gist of it, yeah.
So he pulls energy out of the ether. He shows that we have free energy available. He can manufacture by himself things to do that, and General Electric shuts him down, and then he dies penniless in a hotel room, and the U.S. government takes all of his information away.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? And isn't it weird as well how somehow a Bush and a Trump ended up involved with getting the papers?
Yeah, I don't think that's any surprise, but that's why, like, people like this guy you're talking about, I worry for people like that because they learn the reality and then they want to share it, and they share it with the wrong people. They share it with the governments, and they share it with the academics, and they share it with all those things, and those are the people that are not on our side.
Well, I thought about that because that is a good point with the safety thing, right? But then I thought, well, why is this guy been doing it for 15 years? Why is this guy safe? I know why, because this guy sounds crazy, because he talks about, I didn't mention it, but he talks about other stuff that sounds crazy, but he can, it's too crazy, but he can demonstrate it. So it's so crazy is a crazy. And then some people, because of that other stuff, which it can show you chemically, is right. But then it gets tied in with flat Earth. So he's got algorithmated into flat Earth people, and he hates it. But what do you do, right? So that's why he's probably safe. But at the same time, I'm thinking, right, it's a good moment in history for this because we're allowed to talk about aliens now, which means that's coming. It means energy systems are coming. Lawrence Livermore Labs has always said, "Oh, we've got fusion reaction," which obviously means we've already got it, right? So maybe it's time. So maybe he's safe. So maybe he'll just get it out. Maybe we have to make it ourselves, and that's how we get it. We figure it out, just do it on the cheap, and then they go, "Oh, okay, they got it anyway. We'll give them a proper one."
You know, and I think there's something to that. I really do, because at some point the mental zeitgeist of a society will flip whatever plans the bad people or the whatever you want to call them have in mind. There's just too many of them that know now. So, okay, we'll confess and we won't really be mean to you.
Yeah, because have you noticed that, like you do a show, I don't do a show. I do a show, and it's like so counterintuitive. Anyone can do a show. There's probably a million podcasts a day coming out. It's free speech platforms. They're like Hydra heads. You can't knock them all down, can you? And I think there comes a point where it's like, is the mainstream media irrelevant now? It's starting to look that way. When does the government become irrelevant? When do we stop listening to them? And they're just broke in the mansions because nobody's doing anything for them, and they don't know what to do, and no taxes coming in anymore because every state and county is keeping the tax. You know, then what?
Well, because they have to, because the economy has shrunk to the point where they can no longer pay tribute to the king.
There you go.
And that's kind of what happened. You know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing. I said, there you go. Tribute to the king.
That's what happened to the colonies over here. I mean, a lot of people make a big deal about gunpowder being taken and soldiers being quartered and all of those things. Ultimately, what changed the course of America was they cut off the money supply to the king. And so the king didn't like that, so they squeezed the colonies more, but they underestimated the ability of the colonies to fight back. I see that right now with the Russia Ukraine thing, to where UN and the NATO and the Western places have overplayed their hand in Ukraine, and Russia is basically, in my opinion, the way the colonies were around the 1740s and 50s, when they're like, well, okay, do what you want to do. We don't care. We don't care what you do. We're not doing it. We're going to fight. And if you want to have a fight, let's go. And that's, I mean, to me, and I hate to go off on this tangent, but we were already here. If I
Yeah.
look at nature and the animal kingdom and territorial animals and pack animals that travel, there's a point where nature does the same thing. If coyotes invade the mountain lions, like in Colorado, we have coyotes and mountain lions, and they're not friends. And the coyotes get the bunnies, and the bunnies do their best. But if the coyotes get into the mountain lion territory and there's enough coyotes, the mountain lion leave, even though they're a superior predator. But there's too many coyotes to fight. So,
Right. Yeah. And
there's
so,
just too many. And that's kind of back to your point where when everybody knows what this guy is showing, then CERN becomes irrelevant. When everybody knows the governments are lying, then mainstream media becomes irrelevant.
yeah. Yeah. In this sort of last few years, now we started to get cameras that can capture UFOs.
Yeah.
So maybe is that why it's coming out?
Probably so. That's a good point, because I think that's probably true. We also have cameras that show that you can see too far on the ocean based on the math of the curve model. So a person like me who is not a flat earther, I don't go to the conferences, I don't talk about it, but
Yeah.
a friend of mine has a camera that can zoom in a boat on the ocean that should be behind the curve based
Yeah,
on their
that is.
math.
I've noticed that, and I thought, well, hang on. I thought I've been on that exact same one myself, right? And I thought, well, do I need to go and really thoroughly study the atmosphere and lensing effects? Do you know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
is it optical illusion stuff? But that is curious, isn't it?
It's
And I
very
do.
curious.
I've got no problem with the Earth. I'm a big Earther, if anything. I've said that a few times because of Admiral Byrd. Admiral Byrd blatant said on television, "There's an area free from ice in the South Pole as big as North America."
Yes.
We would have noticed that by now, right?
Well, if the population were what they said it was, we would need it by now.
I think it's bigger because you can't fit. If you look at it as it is, I mean, maybe I don't know. This is my speculation, but if you look how big Antarctica is and stick North America on it, it'd be like almost the whole of the east side of it. And I'm just thinking it makes sense if it's bigger, and that makes sense. But I still can't fathom how dinosaurs could have been alive, right? Because they say they can't survive today. So how does more oxygen make a difference on gravity? It can, right? So then I'm saying, well, how big can things be? What about the Titans? How could they exist then? If dinosaurs are okay, can you? Because that Roger Spur as well, get this. He's got a hair follicle, a fossilized hair follicle. Yeah, as big as an onion.
Wow.
It's got the hair in it. It's got the sebaceous glands where that would connect and where the erectile pili muscle connects to make it stand up. You can see a bit of the hair in it curling underneath. So it's definitely a hair follicle, but that's like as big as a small onion. So how big was that's got to be what 300, 600 foot creature? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So what do you do with that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I do with it personally is I realize that just about everything I was ever taught in my school system and from my government was not the entire truth or an outright lie. One of the two. I don't know which one it was because I don't know another person's motive. A lot of people will say they are lying to you to control you. They're lying to you to take your money, which are very plausible. It may be that they don't know better. It could be that they do want to control you. I have no idea the reason, but I can say that having self-studied for the past 20 years, most everything I was taught is either incomplete or a fabrication. So that onion-sized follicle that has all the components of a hair follicle would tell me that there was something that had hair that was that big here at one time. And none of my teaching accounts for any of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it don't make sense. And because they're not talking about it and they don't approach this stuff, and they have been caught many, many times oppressing data, parading theories as facts. That's my point. They're muddying the water themselves, and they're inspiring conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
They're inspiring the truth community, as they call it.
In fact, he brings up there was a Professor Brian Dork. What a name for a professor, Professor Dork. There's this professor right, that was he writes this article like it feels like he's bitter, where he's saying, oh, there's so many students we're having problems with students are obsessed with Nephilim, and they're going, tell us about the giants. No, the real giants. I've seen videos, and he's like this and all these YouTube videos set to ominous music and treat yourself to this spectacle. But the thing is, they're not talking about it.
Right.
And there's some chemistry there to be talked about. And then you've got there was a global flood probably about 3,000 years ago, and you've got soft body tissue. It fossilized them quick. This guy, Roger Spur's got the nucleophilic invasion chemistry, and he can say, hey, you've got nucleophilic invasion, transition metals, that's your stuff, that explains it. But they're not going to deal with it. So I'm thinking, like I was saying to Roger, why don't they then, because they're fleecing people, they're fleecing students, and
That's
then
all
doing
they're doing.
blatant fraud, and we can prove it. Some of it's really demonstrable. I'll do a little thought experiment in a minute, but if they're doing that, why don't they give the kids what they want? Why don't they talk about the Nephilim? Why it's so scary? And I think that's what it is. It's that it's beyond them. It's beyond them, and they don't want to say, do they? It's beyond them, and they're stuck in the Einstein box. And light speeds up. We've shown it speeds up. It slows down. Look at the ocean. Light slows down, and it just change. So you can't. No, the predications for measuring stuff in space is bunk. It's all based on if the speed of light is kept is normal nominal, and it's in a vacuum, then cool. But when there's matter everywhere in space, it's going to get slowed down, isn't it? So you don't know where we are. So, but they're telling you that they do with Hubble. So that's blatant academic fraud that you can prove with observation, measurement, and goddamn repeatability. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, and the part of the fraud part is from where I'm at, all of the things that they're doing are based on what they think is true, and they've never proven it for themselves. They've never gone out and proven it. I was speaking to a person who is a geologist, and we were talking about the different sediments of rock and the different layers. I went out camping a few days ago, and I met up with them, and we were talking about this. And if you look at what the settled science says, it doesn't match the experience of she and I on the ground at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of most of the so-called sciences that we were taught to think was actually, okay, this is the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just today, somebody sent me this Twitter post where somebody said, is the planet warming up? Well, that depends from when you measure it, right? If you measure it from the period, then it's gone up. It's gone down by 1 degree. If you measure it from this period, it's gone up 2 degrees. Depends when you start. If you skip the medieval warming period, then it looks like it's got warmer. If you include it, we've lost a couple of degrees. So I think you need much longer scale. And that's why I keep saying that it's like the hijacking a moment, I think, And there's a lot to be said about friction and the sun as well. Because did you know the sun? I didn't know this. Roger says to me, oh, yeah, the sun's got mountains. Did you know? And I thought, what? Hang on.
What the
and
hell?
He said, no, got energetic mountains, right? And you check it out. Yeah, they have. Check the data. It's a new discovery. It's so compressed down there. It's crazy. They've got energetic mountains that are like peaks. And that's why you're getting all these swirls, because they're just plowing through all the plasma.
Right.
I'm like, what? It's crazy. It's crazy out there.
Well, so Exile Minds podcast. Can you picture a 6-year-old child drawing the sun?
I can, yeah.
So usually, and for anybody who's listening, usually they'll draw a circle as best they can and then they put little pyramids all around it, little peaks all around the sun.
That's a good point.
And they've done it forever. We've done it forever. You drew them that
What
way.
colour-
I drew them that way.
What color is it?
Usually it's yellow.
Thank goodness.
It's not white, but I just picture even like the I don't know if you have it over there, but the not Frosted Flakes, the Raisin Bran was a cereal that had raisins and bran flakes, and they had a sun because the sun makes the raisins. And on the box they had a circle, and there were little peaks, little pyramids all around the sun. That's how most children draw the sun. I wonder if they draw it because in our inner DNA, our inner knowing, we know that's what it really is. So for you to tell me that this guy comes out and says, there's peaks on the sun, I'm like, oh sure there is. Of course, I can go with that.
Yeah, that's a great point. In fact, I don't think we had the cereal brand, but we definitely had the butter Vitalite, the butter spread and that. But that guy is a son. As a kid, now you say that, I used to think he looked like a sunflower.
Yeah,
that's the sun,
Yeah.
sunflower.
Absolutely.
The petals on it. So he's like, oh, okay.
I think there's something there, man. I don't know. I the older I get, the more I realize if we could all just stop and take a moment and stop and realize that we don't know anything. Everything we're doing is made up. Everything we experience is fiction. If we can get to that point, then you can intuit and you can feel the truth about things. Just like your Admiral Byrd thing. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when Admiral Byrd was sitting on CBS television and he said, there is land beyond Antarctica, and it's green and it's lush and it's bigger than North America, and it has all these resources.
Yeah.
That actually happened. That's not CGI. That's not, AI. That really happened in that moment, in that time. And yet, after that, nothing ever came of it.
Yeah, Longines chronoscope. And I remember he specifically said, this is going to be vital for the future of the rest of the world. It's going to be vital for all the countries. It's going to be the new endeavor. It's going to be the new big project.
Yes.
So what happened?
So
because
then I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, a couple of years later, he died of cancer, didn't he?
He died. Yes, he did. And in 1952, they signed the Antarctic Treaty, where 163 countries said, nobody gets to go here. No people can come here. Only government can own this, and you can't visit it. So, I mean, I'm frustrated, and I'm disappointed that all of the things all of humanity needs is here, and it's for free. And yet government and corporations have made it all for pay. And there's so much, they've created scarcity for all of our brothers and sisters, including you and I. And it pisses me off.
It pisses me off, but it's not just that as well. They can't stop there, can they? Because they've already indebted your grandchildren.
Yes.
Before
you're exactly.
Needed them yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you met the woman.
Before you met your wife, your grandchildren were indebted.
Before you even got drunk,
Before you said, hey, my car's over here. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's
crazy, a horror show, buddy. It's a horror show.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it is a horror show for you. Imagine this then, right? It's like crazy it goes. So if we've got ETs then, because it's an alien show, if we've got ETs interacting with us there, and they're from other dimensions, whatever, and they're in space wars, which it kind of looks like, because all the comparative mythology seems to add up to our history is Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So if they've been happening, and let's go with the data that's come so far, and let's say, okay, they do know the distance of things and the sizes of things, these planets, some of them massive, right? What happens? What about these sizes of things? What about this hair follicle? What about dinosaurs? Do you get giant aliens? Do you have giant ships? Because if you do, in space battles, aren't you going to have giant body parts in space? And space spelled a state, remember, smells burgers. Right.
You
know what I'm saying? And it gets really weird, Algo, honestly. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, because then you start thinking, when you look at the nucleophilic invasion for the chemistry and start realizing how biology turns into commonly known geology, you realize, no, that's a body part. That opal is a heart at one time. That gold vein really was blood, right?
Yes.
When you start seeing that and then start seeing the same structures in space, you got to start thinking, whoa, hang on. These are massive, right? And then they're lining up with some of these historical, well, quote unquote historical, like religious accounts of wars in the heavens.
Yeah.
And you're like, hang on a minute. Is it real? I don't want to. Ooh. That's why I wear the hat so my head don't blow up.
I personally say it is real. And I also say that if you could continue to take the energy from the people and explain that it was real, then they would do it, but they can't. So money basically is an expression of human energy. And so they want your energy, Rohan. They want my energy. They believe they deserve to live off of our energy. So the rocks that I looked at a couple of days ago, they look like meat. They look like raw meat. In Colorado, we've got these places where there's rocks and they're boulder size and some of them are small, but the color of them is akin to the color of a raw steak. So when you talk about that body parts laying around, I was walking through a field of something that was murdered in a cataclysm, and we call them rocks. And on the other side of it, there are these other rocks that have all this gold in it. They're tiny flecks of gold, but the gold exists alongside of it. And my mind was blown. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about all the channels and all the archaeologists and Michael Tellinger from South Africa. If you don't know his work, study his work. You know him?
Mates with Roger. Yeah, he's mates with Roger Spur. They've kind of worked together a bit on the
Well, yeah, I mean, those guys, they're dialed in. And I think that when a person like you or I can happen upon that and put it into our zeitgeist, we can look around and not shrug and not be upset by the stupid thing Biden did or the stupid thing Boris Johnson did, because those guys are cartoon characters.
Bingo.
They're not even important at all. The price of oil is not important.
Yeah, price of cheese. That used to be like an expression, like a joke thing. Or you're talking about meaningless stuff. Talking about the price of cheese when you should be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna run because I firstly I appreciate you having me on. I know you and I have been trying to do this for a couple of months, and the timing hasn't worked out. And I love talking with you because I think you're brilliant and I think you're fun and I think you're a kind man.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, no, it's how I see you. But in the end of it, the people in your life that matter to you, that you're willing to protect, defend, care for, all that other stuff, it's just nonsense. It literally is. It seems important. They make you want to think it's important, but it's really not. The stuff you're doing, reaching out to your friends, having conversations, connecting with people, that's the important part, I think.
I think you're right. I had a bit of a thing on that today as well. I said, I've had stuff on my personal life and that. Things I've got to let go, my own lead and things, and that's what it's come down to for me. It's like, no, what's important? Because you start telling you these stupid stories in your head over and over again about what things is and what things mean, and that those meanings you attach to things can make or break you, can't they? Like knowing your why. If you've got the wrong why, it can make your life hell, can't it? But if you get it right, everything you do is great because it's
absolutely,
yeah,
100%. And it's just a story in your brain. It's a story in your mind.
Yeah.
Was it given to you?
The duck on loop, does it? You know what I mean?
Say that again. I couldn't hear you because I cut in. I'm sorry.
So I just said, that telling yourself a bad story. I've heard it like this before. It's like, do you think George Lucas is watching Howard the Duck over and over again? No, he's probably just me.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, 100%. So.
Anyway, thanks. Thanks so much for joining in, and I'm glad you jumped in there and caught me at the end because, like I say, it's been good timing. It's probably just a synchronicity thing, and then I get to tell you about Roger Spur, and you capped it off nice with a great point there. That's kind of why I reached out to him because in our community, he's safe, he's cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they don't know. don't know about us. So I thought I better let him know. Come drag him in.
Good. Yes, do. The more the merrier.
Exactly.
We need brilliant minds like that.
Many as we can get. And like I say, he happens to have this thing and it looks dead easy to collect. So let's try it. And if it works, we'll just all build one.
I agree. Yeah, fuck him. Don't even tell anybody.
Yeah, don't even bother. Just build one for your neighbors. Christmas. See ya. Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm going to connect with you in Discord. Literally after the 3rd week of July, my life slows way down. And you and I, we have more conversations to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be in touch, and I hope that I get to do this with you again.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. That's a good time for me as well, that sort of time. So that's brilliant.
Excellent. All right.
Take it easy, man.
Take care of yourself. I'm going to go back in chat and listen to the end. Thank you so much, Rohan.
You do. I got to wind down then. Then it's radio clock. 2 hours will be good. Cheers.
Right. Good night, friend.
Nice one. So there we go. Algo Riven. Algo Mike. Jumped in there. Shouting out from the mountains. So thanks. Yeah, we have been. It is true, actually. We've been trying to we're trying to hook up to have a bit of a chit chat for quite some time. But like I say, I'm not great with schedules and time because it's all relative. That's my excuse anyway. But yeah, just things don't line up. Yeah, time zones and that. Sometimes it's just a bit difficult to sort of catch each other at the right moment. But yeah, opportunist there, jumped in. That's the way to do it. So, and that's also a good thing. I've not really mentioned this. I started using this StreamYard platform now because I use OBS Studio for to record it, but then it doesn't stream too well. But I found if you use StreamYard, to the sister platform to this, it's browser based, and you can generate an invite link, you send it to people, and it just brings them kind of onto the show. So it's like a bit of a call-in number, so to speak, without having to set up some kind of phone situation. So that's pretty handy. So that's how he was able to just dive in, just like that. A bit of a ninja, a bit of a pro there, my mate Mike. A different Mike. The Michael Strange, that's Algo Mike. But yeah, go and check his channel out, Algorithm. In fact, he's in Friends of Troubled Minds in the description, actually. Yeah, go and check his channel out. Impromptu conversations and just, hashing it out. Because like I say, I think this is what it's got to be all about. We've got to have these conversations, and I'm about. I'm not trying to just dump on academia. I'm dumping on the integrity side of things. I'm not just having a go for having a go. They're slowing up progress, and we need stuff, and it's doing damage. So, and there's the money side of things as well. But at the same time, it's no good just complaining about it, is it? If there's opportunities to do stuff, so we have these conversations, and then lo and behold, there's people, different talents, different skills, and come together. And sometimes someone's got a piece of knowledge, and things can work. So I found this guy, Roger's watching him mud fossil stuff for a few years. Some of it was just too wild. I wasn't really sure about it. But you keep watching, don't you? And it's like, you can't just throw everything out. And it turns out he's onto stuff more than just with the flood, the electron flood theory. He's got that. He's got the flood theory, as in the mud flood theory, that's turned out to not be theory. And it's looking like this electron flood situation is going to be the way forward to get ourselves some energy in our own back pocket without some of these fancy machines. So I don't know how this is going to work out. But with this situation, you won't have to hook it up to the grid or do anything. Just have to keep your laser going, just replace the batteries every couple of years. So hopefully we can collect a usable amount of energy from it. We'll see how it goes. And I think, like I say, I meant to mention it to Algo. I think it's a good time now for these kind of things. I think gone are the days of assassinating people for, rewiring a Bendini circuit and getting a bit of a unit or whatever. I mean, Marco Rodin never got took out. I'm wondering if the Rodin coil, Marco Rodin's vortex mathematics and Rodin coil might work for this. Maybe if we fire it through a Venturi into a Rodin coil, maybe that could collect the electron shower in the negative draft space, because the Rodin coil has two coils going in opposite directions at very obtuse angles in a Storer-David pattern, which is pyramids, actually, as we mentioned earlier. But yeah, Storer-David pattern, two coils going in, running in opposite directions. You have one switched on, then everything's switched off, and then the other one switched on. in firing stages. So I had this random crazy idea that maybe if you fired the laser through the Venturi, got acceleration, and timed it with the negative draft space for a Rodin core being fired, it might automatically pull it in, and then it might auto-run itself. But we'll see. Perhaps do some experiments. I might reach out to alien scientists because they're like fabricating things. I think they've got the resources to do it, and they're electricians and stuff with electronics, do microelectronics. So maybe it's worth pooling the resources, as we say, which is the point I'm trying to wrap up with. Got to get together, do our own research, talk to people, and then together we'll be able to build some stuff, at least build our knowledge base. But anywho, extra impromptu little bonus bit there with my mate Algo. So links in the description, and check his stuff out. And I'm gonna end the show here. So that was nice actually. Did a nice show on nice to do a sort of part 2 and follow up straight away with the aliens and UFOs. So yeah, check some of this stuff out if you've never heard of it. Just keep an open mind, because it gets really weird, and you just we just got to try and get as close to the answers and truth as we can, and don't get too hang up on getting to it. Just the journey. Enjoy the journey. Anyhow, we'll play some inspirational music just to take us out. The Exile Minds podcast. Roll it over now onto Friday the 7th of July with some bonus content with Algo. Broadcasting live from Nottingham, England, and on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. Make sure you go and check that out and tell everybody about that too. I'm trying to get that built up. So yeah, word of mouth. It's great the sharing things. It's really handy, and definitely word of mouth recommendations. They really count for a lot as well. So check it out. Wonder where your mouth is. Anyway, that's enough from me. Famously, I'm Martin, your host. We'll perhaps do maybe some bonus content. Maybe some bonus content on the weekend. But if not, hopefully get Roger in on Tuesday, since I've just been ranting on about it. But anyway, take care. Look after yourselves. See you next week.
And as men busied themselves about their various concerns, they observed and studied the way a man with a microscope might scrutinize the creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacency, men went to and fro about the globe, confident of our empire over this world. Yet, across the gulf of space, intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic regarded our planet with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, through their plans,
Kindness kills you. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a summer's place. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago, from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I damned for. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to heal, my eagerness to fight has set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I share my dreams with ghosts. I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy and defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make the sunrise that I know I'll never see. the ego that started this fight. Never ever. Mirror, an audience, the light of gratitude. And what do I sacrifice? Everything!